Welcome to the deep dive. Ever found yourself staring at a chart, maybe a report, or just, watching something unfold and thinking, okay, I see the numbers, I see what's happening on the surface, but I feel like I'm missing the real story?
Uh-huh. Like you know what happened.
Exactly. But not really how it all went down, or maybe who was really driving it, or even why it happened with such, I don't know, conviction, or maybe
Right.
hesitation.
Right. That gap between the outcome and the actual process.
Precisely. So today we're taking a deep dive into that exact kind of puzzle. We're pulling insights from VTrender, they're a well-known market analytics firm,
Hmm.
and they've got this really compelling piece called Beyond Red and Green: Understanding the Language Markets Actually Speak. That's our guide today.
Sounds fascinating.
Our mission really is to unpack why sometimes even data that seems super detailed, the surface stuff, just isn't enough to get the full picture, especially in complex places like, well, financial markets.
And this deep dive, it's really for anyone listening who loves, gaining knowledge quickly, maybe seeing things from a few different angles and getting those aha moments without just getting buried in data.
Yeah, avoiding the overwhelm.
Exactly. We're going to look at the limits of what most people see in market data and, more importantly, try to understand what really drives the action underneath it all.
Decoding the market's true language.
Yeah, moving past just the obvious red and green bars.
Okay, let's dive in then. The VTrender article, it immediately challenges something pretty fundamental how we look at traditional market data, specifically OHLC data.
Open, high, low, close.
Yeah.
The standard.
Right. Even if you're looking at it minute by minute, super granular, the article basically says this data misses the entire story. So just for everyone listening, can you give us a quick refresher on what OHLC data typically shows?
Absolutely. So OHLC data is, well, probably the most common way people visualize price movement over a certain time period, right? Could be a minute, an hour, a day, whatever.
Yeah.
It gives you those 4 key price points. The open price when the period starts, the high price it reached, the low price it touched, and then the close price right at the end.
So like a little summary.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a snapshot. It shows the range, the start point, the end point for that specific time chunk. It's foundational stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
But as the article points out, it's nowhere near the whole story.
Okay, and here's where VTrender makes that really critical distinction. It says, yeah, these OHLC bars, they can tell you that price moved from point A to point B. Okay, fair enough.
The outcome.
But then it pivots hard. It says they fall short in some really crucial ways. So what exactly does VTrender say these traditional bars can't tell us?
Right. The article is very direct about this. It highlights 3 sort of vital missing pieces you need for real understanding. It says OHLC bars just can't tell you, number 1, how it got there.
Okay.
Number 2, who pushed it there.
Mm.
And number 3, why it moved with such force or hesitation. These are like the deeper layers, the story behind the price move that often get missed.
Those 3 points, they feel like massive gaps, especially if you're trying to, get knowledge quickly and deeply. Let's break down that first one, how it got there.
Yeah.
Why is knowing how a price moved from A to B so different, so much more important than just knowing that it did move? Isn't the result what matters?
Well, that's an interesting question. See, OHLC data, it's basically an outcome, right? It's the final tally for that time slice.
Right, the snapshot.
But how it got there,
Hmm.
that speaks to the process. It's about the actual journey within that minute or hour. The sequence of little ticks back and forth, the struggle between buyers and sellers, maybe.
So, the dynamics.
Exactly. The smooth glide upwards or maybe a sudden sharp jump.
Yeah.
It's a difference between, say, knowing your friend got at their destination and actually hearing about the journey, the traffic jams, the scenic route they took, the flat tire.
Okay, I get it. The detours matter.
They do. The how reveals the texture of the move, the
Yeah.
dynamic tension. It shows the real journey the price took,
Yeah.
not just where it started and ended.
Okay, that makes sense. Then the second point, who pushed it there? This feels really important too because markets are just people, right? Or institutions.
Fundamentally, yes.
So in the context of markets, who are the who that the source is talking about here? And why is knowing who they are so vital for understanding this true market language? Some might say, look, a big move is a big move. Who cares who did it?
Well, that brings up a really important point about the conviction behind any move you see in the market.
Conviction, okay.
When the article mentions who, it's typically referring, implicitly perhaps, to the different kinds of players in the market. You could think about, say, the big institutional players, hedge funds, banks, large asset managers.
The big money?
Right, often with deep pockets, maybe a longer-term view, real conviction. versus, say, retail traders smaller, individual investors, sometimes driven more by short-term sentiment, maybe quicker to get in and out.
You sometimes hear strong hands versus weak hands.
Exactly that terminology.
Yeah.
Strong versus weak hands. And understanding who's primarily driving the price action helps you figure out the underlying strength or maybe the weakness of that move.
How so?
Well, for instance, imagine a small, quick price pop on really light volume. That might just be weak hands, maybe covering short positions. It often suggests the rally might not last.
Okay, less sustainable.
Precisely. But contrast that with, say, a steady climb on heavy volume, and you sense it's mainly the strong hands, the institutions accumulating positions. That suggests something more fundamental might be shifting.
Ah, okay, real buy-in.
It points towards a more robust trend, not just a temporary fluctuation. And making that distinction is critical. It lets you analyze things with much more insight.
So how gives us the process, the journey? Who gives us the players and their likely conviction? But the article also hits on why it moved with such force or hesitation. This sounds like it gets into intent, maybe market psychology.
Absolutely. It touches on sentiment.
One might think, okay, a big green bar, that's force, right? A long bar. But the article seems to suggest it's more nuanced than that. What's this deeper layer of OHLC just doesn't capture?
Yeah, it's definitely more nuanced. That force or hesitation really gets at the underlying market psychology that, frankly, OHLC data alone just can't convey.
Okay.
It's not only about the size of the price change, how tall that bar looks on your screen. It's about the way it
The
happened.
manner of it.
Exactly. Was the price pushed up aggressively, relentless buying maybe? That shows strong conviction, overwhelming demand.
Right.
Or did it just sort of creep up slowly, lots of back and forth action within the bar?
Yeah.
That signals uncertainty, maybe indecision, a lack of real commitment from the players involved.
Hesitation.
Precisely. So it's not just how far the price went, but the energy, the confidence or lack thereof behind that move. It's like watching someone stride forward confidently versus someone taking a really tentative step, always glancing back.
That's a powerful visual.
And grasping that difference, that's absolutely key if you want to anticipate future moves, not just react to what already happened.
The article sums this up brilliantly with that analogy. It's like having a recipe that lists ingredients but skips all the cooking instructions. Can you unpack that for us? Why is that such a perfect fit here?
Oh, it's a fantastic analogy, isn't it? Really nails the point.
Yeah.
The ingredients in this picture are the OHLC points, the open, high, low, close. They're essential, no doubt. You need them.
The basics.
The absolute basics.
Yeah.
But picture someone just handing you a list. Flour, sugar, eggs, butter, chocolate. And saying, right, bake a cake.
Uh-oh. Good luck.
Exactly. Without the instructions how to mix things, what order, the oven temperature, how long to bake it, even what kind of cake you're aiming for, you can't actually make the dish properly.
You'd have a mess.
You'd have a mess or something unrecognizable. You've got the components, you know what went in, maybe you see the disappointing outcome, but you have zero understanding of the process, the technique, the critical steps that turn those raw ingredients into something delicious.
The transformation is missing.
Completely. Without the how, the who, and the why,
Sure.
you're missing the entire creation story. You just see inputs and outputs, not the vital transformation in between. It really highlights why understanding the process is so much more valuable than just observing the final product.
So, tying this all together, what's the big takeaway? V-Trender is pushing us beyond red and green. It's basically saying, look past the simple colors and lines on the chart.
Yeah, seek the deeper story.
Right. Seek that deeper narrative. It really encourages kind of critical thinking, doesn't it? Questioning that assumption that just knowing the start and end points is enough.
It absolutely does. It trains you to look for those hidden dynamics.
And if we zoom out a bit, connect this to the bigger picture. The insight from beyond red and green seems to be that real understanding, true insight, often lies in those invisible dynamics, the things happening under the visible surface.
That's a great way to put it. Think about, I don't know, a marketing campaign. Your surface data might show you got X number of clicks, Y number of conversions. Okay, fine.
The OHLC of marketing.
Kinda, yeah. But understanding the how, like which specific ads or sequences led to those clicks, and the which customer segments engaged the most. Were they new people, returning customers, and the why, what message, what value proposition really hit home.
That's where the useful insight is.
That's where the actionable insight for your next campaign lies. It's about moving beyond just watching to actively interpreting, seeking the narrative behind the numbers, not just the numbers themselves. And that principle, it goes way beyond just markets.
Yeah, absolutely. What really stands out to me is this idea that even when you think you have detailed information, there's almost always a deeper story, right? A more nuanced language you need to learn to decode.
Always.
This deep dive really highlights how valuable it is to keep asking those probing questions, not just stopping at what happened, but pushing further. How did it happen? Who was really involved? And why did it happen with that specific energy or intent?
Moving from just seeing the
So
surface.
really understanding the currents underneath. Yeah.
Exactly.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If traditional market data is like that recipe missing the crucial instructions, where else in your own life, maybe your work, might you be looking at outcomes, seeing the finished dish, without really understanding the cooking instructions that got it there?
Hmm. Interesting question.
What processes, what intentions, maybe what hidden actors or forces might be shaping the surface of what you see every day? Something to mull over as you continue doing your own deep dives into the world around you?